Hello, it's me, Annalisa, with my spiritual friend. I'm back. This is way too bright. It's Sunday, the 9th. I hope everybody is well. Super Bowl Sunday. I'll just wait here for people to show up, I suppose. I don't know if anybody but Allie's going to be here, but I'm happy to have Allie. I'm actually on time today. So I guess if you're here and you're watching this after the fact, let's talk about some things coming up. If you're new, I have been doing readings for 16 years professionally. I am oh, hello. Some people popped in. So I was just going to start doing the video like I've been here. I'm new. So I've been doing readings professionally 16 years. And I'd love to teach people how to develop their own intuition and develop good self-concept. I think your self-concept actually really helps you connect in to your spiritual side and to your own intuition and trust it more. So I am going to start a community within the next on Patreon by the end of this month. My goal is like within the next week or two to get it up and running. There's going to be 3 different tiers. The lowest tier is $5, and the second middle tier will be $12, and the highest tier is $25, and that's per month. Let's see, I have a whole list of what I'm including. Everybody will get so if you have the higher tier, you get what the $5 and the $12 tier get. And then one thing I do want to do is weekly. Regina, I got your payment. I want to do weekly live meditations, and then obviously you'll have access to it afterwards if you can't join it at the time, because I do think there is something really important when you do meditations to have that collective energy, and we'll do those on Zoom, and then I will post them. Now, if you're at the $25 tier, you'll get those every week. If you're at the $5 tier, you get them once a month, and then the $12 tier, I'll have it like every other week. So kind of how that goes. I'm going to do daily card pulls, like Oracle card pulls. We're going to talk about sigil work, just different like spiritual things, different talking about manifestation and talking about self-concept. We'll have different exercises. So that's kind of what I'm offering now. The other thing I want to offer is to the higher tier, that if you're in the $25 tier, it'll be an additional cost if you do these, but they'll be for, we'll do message circles live on Zoom, and you'll get, I'll have to like limit them. You'll have to sign up separately, but those will be only to the offered to the higher tier people. Oh no. And then also the higher tier people will be offered a discount for like every quarter. They'll get a discount coupon for doing, if they want to sign up for private readings at a lower rate. These are the kinds of things I'm offering. Sorry, we had a Girl Scout activity this morning. The girls got to earn their cooking badge, and they made mac and cheese. I don't know, some like with 5 different kinds of cheeses and churros. So I'm getting texts from that. Sorry, I didn't silence it. Okay, so I've got Regine here. Allie, are you here, dear? You're here. Okay. Bonjour. So Allie, if you want to ask, the other thing I want to offer too is I'm going to do there where we have like, it'll be a reading, a question and answer, but it's going to be like when we do like the political things, and I can just be on a private thing. I can be much more open about the way I answer, be more comfortable about answering them, the political stuff and all that. And then I'll maybe like once a month or once every other week. We'll see how it like turns out, how many that. I don't have it totally settled on what's on every tier, but I've got a pretty good outline right now. So then I just need to start creating the content and getting it ready. Does that sound good to y'all? I had a client on Friday who was really excited for it because she's like, just needs community. And I think right now that's kind of what people really need, is community and a safe space, and to feel like they're around like-minded people. And so I would like to create that. We have to do energy exchange. I can't always do everything for free because it's exhausting. Let me just silence my notifications. All right, Allie, do you want to ask your question? Is there anything that you guys think you would like to be like? One thing I want to do is like teach you how to do sigils and do sigil work and do, which is like protective work and different. I saw something around different spell work, which I thought was really kind of neat. So I think while I believe in manifesting and the law of assumption and really it's just your thoughts create your reality, I think sometimes we need little tools and tricks to kind of get beyond that subconscious. Hi, Camel. Okay. I've been having trouble at work. I got tired and my coworker being rude to me. So I told my manager that I was done dealing with them after 2 years trying. I don't know if I approached it the right way, but I put it out there that I give up and I'm not trying anymore. I'm not laughing at you. I understand the exasperation. I think there's something like astrologically going on right now too, where people are sort of, I can't remember which planets are doing what, but I think I might be Venus and Aries, where you're just sort of like, you embrace or you let go of things. Like it's sort of that like final push, like you've been dealing with stuff for a while and you finally just like let it go. So that might be part of that, even though it's not technically love, but it's relationships. So what's your question? Okay, we need to work on that. Like, it is not mean to have boundaries. You are not a mean person to feel like you're setting a tone. I just want to take this off. It's a little toasty. That doesn't make you a mean person, right? All right, Camel, I'll check in a sec. That doesn't make you mean to set a boundary and be like, yeah, I'm not tolerating this anymore. So many times we think that we're, especially when you're somebody who tends to be like a people pleaser, you tend to think like, oh my God, I'm so mean. They're going to think I'm so horrible. But I want to know, like, do you really care what their opinion is if you're like setting a boundary? No. And I'm saying that as somebody who used to have a really hard time setting a boundary and worrying, like, am I the mean one? Okay, Camel, go ahead and ask your private question. People like them, so it makes me think that I'm the mean. No. Okay. Now, I'm not calling everybody like that person's a narcissist because they don't like you. But what I am saying is there is like sometimes what happens is like this ringleader energy that happens, and they'll make sure that they have a whole bunch of sycophants and like people that are like, oh, they're so nice, they're so wonderful, blah, 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 like creating this like energy suck from the masses. And then there's one person who stands on and is like, something's not right, right? That's the person that they make feel like there's an issue. So it's happened to me where I was like, something's not right. This person isn't right. And it isn't until like later down the line where a whole bunch of people are like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. Like, you were right. I'm like, I know. You may just be one of the early identifiers of like the canary in the coal mine, if you will. But what's your question? Because you haven't really gotten to a question yet here on this. Maybe I'll put this up here so you can see it. I think it's cute. Will it stay? This shelf is very precarious. It's not really a great sturdy thing. Oh, if you approached it right. Can I have your manager's first name or who you spoke to about it? Oh, wait, don't tell me anything yet. So what I feel is like, Do you have 2 managers? Because I feel like a smaller female and then I don't wanna say portly male, but, um, a little softer and rounder. Is Nicole short female? So yeah, okay. Because I saw, like, a shorter female, and then I see someone I don't feel like he's necessarily tall, tall, maybe 5'10", but he just feels a little bit rounder, softer, um, fairer skin. So, I feel like she knows what you're talking about with this person, and that there's an issue. Like, I don't feel like she's been like, "Oh, I couldn't see that at all." Um, um, I don't feel like Nicole thinks that you're out of line or it was inappropriate. Um, at the same time, I feel like it's kind of like, let me give it time to cool off and see if it kind of blows over, if the situation blows over, if that makes sense. Like I don't again, I don't feel like she's like, "Oh, you're like this is ridiculous. Everybody else likes this person." I don't get that sense at all. But what I get is like more just like let me just see if this is like really a consistent thing because it's the first time she's hearing about it. Hang on, Cam, I'll answer yours in a minute. Um, if it's really a consistent thing or if it's like so it's like she's sort of trying to see if there's a cool off period if it's like still an issue. And then I just heard she doesn't really know how to handle it. Um, because there's not an obvious HR violation. Like in her mind, she's like, I feel like she's kicking around. Do I have them meet together? Do I bring them together? And actually, maybe that's why I'm feeling this male is maybe it's her boss where she's kind of like, I have this situation, and maybe that's why I'm feeling that being brought in. Um, to try and or maybe it's even just one of the other managers just to kick around the best way to deal with it. There's a male she's talking to, so maybe it's her like district manager or something like that. Oh, so then maybe it's Max I'm feeling. Sorry, I just read that. Maybe it's Max I'm feeling and then Nicole. So I just think they're trying to figure out how to deal with it, not really it's not that they don't believe you because I do think that they see some of her who she is. So it's just a feeling of like I don't feel like you did it wrong. And some of that feeling like, oh my God, I did it wrong is that same people pleasery thing of like that fear of like where you're walking on eggshells all the time. You feel like it. You're always in kind of fight or flight mode of like, you know, I'm going to say this. I don't think that they're brushing it off, but there is something to be said for um like legally they have to have a paper trail of everything so they can't just be like we're gonna so it's sort of this idea of like do we sit you two down. That's the feeling as I get it that they're kicking around. Do we sit them down together and have a conversation and see how it goes? Do we like basically just separate them so they don't really work together? They're just trying to figure out what the best solution is. And remind yourself that it's okay to speak up for yourself. I think there's so much in there for a lot of people where it's hard to sorry, I just put on some lip stuff because my lips are dry. Um, where it's kind of hard to advocate for yourself. Hi, Cushy. So we can just talk about in general. I can generally talk about some ways to help. But all the questions are $12 a question. I donate 30% to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey if you wanted me to really like look into your energy. And then there's a little bit of a list in front of you. There's a couple people ahead of you. So that's sort of what I'm getting is like, it's not that. Okay. So if you want it with you, if you want me to look into your energy directly, then I'm requesting that you purchase a question for $12. But if you just want me to do like a general working on confidence and stuff like that, I don't mind because that's helpful to everybody. Doing that in general. But if you want me to read your energy and see what's going on, I'm happy to do that. But that's a $12 charge. Okay, so you just want me to do it in general. No problem, I can do that. But I won't read your energy, okay? All right. So that's what I get, Allie. It's not that you did it wrong. I just feel like it's going to be a little bit slower of a process than you want. And sometimes that's not a bad thing. And I'm not trying to say like, oh, you're kind of like a toddler, but it's like when you move impulsively to make changes, you can actually create more problems. So it's kind of like with my kids when it's like, I can clearly see like they're having a disagreement and I clearly see like one has maybe done something wrong or one has really offended the other. Right. And they're like, but you got to do it now. You got it. Like, that's kind of their attitude. I'm like, I'll take care of it when I take care of it. And it's not because, I'm not going to address it. It's really because you have to pick the right moment and the right way to address it so that it's actually received in the best way so that the most change can come from it. Because, if I just go right into like trying to like talk to the one of them that's, also has their emotions riled up, it doesn't get received well. Okay. Sounds good, Regine. Yeah. And I don't think that keeping it to yourself really helps. And it also could be a complete misunderstanding where you're just like, she's reading your energy wrong. And so approaching things wrong. I actually feel like it ends up working itself out. I keep feeling like you're going to be, not because they're like, oh, you can't handle it. I just feel like they're going to give you a break of like having to not work with her so much. Where maybe she oversees you directly and they're going to have the other guy oversee you directly instead. I mean, I've had all kinds of weird situations and it's very interesting now that I look at it as a grown woman, like who's, has a few decades on me when I was like younger. I mean, some of the crap older women would say to me or how they would treat me was just so weird. And everybody's like, oh, they're such great people. And I'm like, I think you're missing something. And now I look at it as a grown woman and I'm like with my full frontal lobe, developed and everything. And it's like, oh, they had some issues. Like that really wasn't me. And I was offended and upset, but I couldn't see, that they just had their own stuff. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that I really honestly people are tough. I like the dead ones better. No offense to any of y'all, but like the dead ones are easier and they respect boundaries a lot better. And even the scary dead ones aren't nearly as scary as some of the living ones out there. Like meaning the lengths that some living people will go to control others and harm others because they refuse to deal with their own psychological issues. Ugh, itchies. Okay. Um, yeah, it's a learning lesson, and it's also about learning, not necessarily learning about other people, but learning about yourself and learning like to reassure yourself that boundaries are okay. Like it's okay for me to be not okay with how somebody's treating me. And you're supposed to go like that's kind of what managers are there for. It's not just to tell people what to do, but it's also to like help create balance and a safe and healthy working environment. I don't want to ever. I never wanted to be a manager. That's why I was like, I don't. I didn't even really want to be in charge of anybody. Like I just wanted to go to work, show up, and do my job, and like call it a day. Nicole, I pinned the PayPal for the link for you to pay. So you could just click. It should work. I clicked on it and then make a payment, and then I'll get the payment notification. Yeah. Okay. So, Camel, let's do your questions quick. You're so welcome, Allie, always. Let me go back up here. Your first one was about money. So March is popping up for me for money for you, but I don't feel like it's like a big blip, but it feels like something. So I don't know why, but that's like March is coming up for me for you as being like a little small influx or increase in money there. July is also popping up. I don't see anything. I just keep hearing coasting, like coasting from like, after July. It's like I feel like I'm coasting, not like coasting on money and not can't handle it, but just I'm moving along smoothly. So there's no ups and downs. November is also coming up for a little bit more of an increase. And I feel like that might be a raise. So maybe you get a new job, um, March, July, something like that, where you're making a little bit more money. Maybe that's the March thing. And then July, maybe there's another increase. And then it feels like maybe in November, another increase. And maybe it's a crypto investment. It just feels like there's an increase. And they're not really showing me exactly, but it's like, you're not going to be jobless forever. None of that or anything. It just feels like that's what they're showing me. And I don't mean to be like the gratitude police because, I don't really talk about that a lot on here because I always think like that's kind of, it's not that it's icky. It just feels like when someone's going through stuff and be like, just make sure you're grateful for what you have. It just feels like such a slap in the face because it's like, okay, and how do I process through this? But it does feel like, so I'm sorry. I'm like, ugh, that they're just saying to try and be grateful for this time where you're not working because I feel like when you start working, it'll be pretty busy. So it's like sort of try and find the gratitude in the quiet space. Not to be like, oh my God, you should be grateful that you have anything. Like I'm not saying that at all. It's just sort of like knowing that when it picks up, it's going to pick up and be pretty busy. So I don't know if that means like you're going to feel more busy just because like obviously you'd have a full-time job. And then I still feel like there's something on the side where you're really sort of coaxing out the writing or whatever, or maybe doing that on the side. Excuse me, God. Sorry. Okay, so the second question, what did you want to know exactly about that situation in Sweden? Excuse me. Nicole, I got your payment. Yeah, it's a scary thing that happens. Um, so I feel like gratefully, you're not going to turn into the way America is, where nobody seems to want to do anything to like set some reasonable gun laws. Like I actually feel like it's going to become um, there's going to be laws and things made of it. It's funny because I don't know. I saw that it happened, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it. And I think that's really because I'm just trying to find my own center and balance with the craziness that's happening here. Um, but what I heard was it's like feels like kind of like a right wing, ultra conservative, and rightfully so that they would. But I also feel like Sweden is going to put in some laws now, like some stricter laws around. Um, it feels like how you purchase them, how you own them, like how the licensing works. Uh, there's going to be stricter rules about it. Maybe even complete banning of people being able to carry. I don't fully understand it, but I feel like they're actually going to do some take some legal action around it. It's not going to just be like here where it's like, oh, it's so sad that that happened. Nothing we can do. Just, let's now just arm all the teachers. And like there's sort of a backwards thinking about it where it really makes me sad actually that my kids are in school at a time where my youngest told me that they had done a lockdown drill. She's like, it was really scary. And she's had them since she was, little because, mhm. But this time she said she got really scared because she's like, I didn't know if it was real or not this time because the way kids were talking, and it made me really scared. Um, yeah, I understand that maybe he got the license from the police. I just feel like whatever they're going to do feels stricter around how you actually purchase the instrument, if you will. I don't foresee this. So I feel sort of like more like the way when there was a big shooting in Australia and they just cracked down and they haven't had any issues since. It feels like that for me. I don't feel like, and here's the thing I don't want to be like dismissive of the racism, but there's racism everywhere, quite literally. We have a problem in this world of people othering. My one daughter mentioned to me, she's like, I was in school the other day and I noticed like everybody dresses the same, like really like same colors, same, jeans and, you know, grays, blacks or whites, t-shirts or whatever, just really kind of like, and she's like, and it was weird when I noticed that. And I said, yeah, well, I said, you have two things happening there. I said, one is what clothing like stores offer to buy is all very similar. And the second is assimilation. And people don't like to feel different or othered because the human brain sees something different and goes, that's different. It's not like me. I'm scared. We need to all, or if I'm different, then maybe I might be a problem, right? Or be singled out. I think that's a natural way to keep people safe. And I think it's natural for people to compare and contrast, and that's different, so it's scary, and then other people go, yes, that's different, it's scary. um what's interesting is like I think a lot about like neurodivergence and how you sort of um don't have that thought of hierarchy or people being different, so it's weird. I just think, oh, they're just different. And I notice that with my kids too, or just kind of like it's not bad or good, it's just different. um But I think some of that stuff comes from when I have read energetically for people that are uh, of a certain political persuasion, which is wearing red hats. um, when I've gone into situations where I've been heavily involved, where I did readings and it was a more conservative crowd. My dad used to joke. I don't talk to my dad anymore, but he used to joke and he'd say like, "Oh, it's not racist. It's just I'm just conservative," like as a joke because it feels like people do that as an excuse of like it's not everybody. So if you're conservatives, don't get your panties in a bunch. If you're watching this, because it's not that. But what I noticed was there was this deep sense of really wanting to be validated and really wanted to be seen and heard, and a lifetime of not being that. And so when you feel that and somebody or something comes along and sees that, then you can get swept up in things. But like really feeling that there was just such a need of like needing to learn to like love themselves and be kind to themselves. Um, and not that I don't see it on the other side, but it was such a more profound feeling. It was interesting. And I'm not saying this out of judgment or like, like it's just an observation I made. Now, does that mean all of them are? No, because this is just a sample of one experience that I had being in a large room full of people who make different political decisions than I do. And I'm just trying to be gentle in my conversation, because in many spaces now, I think that you're going to have to be much more aware of your words. And not that I'm like, oh, I can't, I also feel like it's not going to be great this year for sure. But I feel like there is going to be, by the end of this year, early 2026, there's going to be a greater coming together of people from all sides no longer wanting to tolerate, because they're seeing the veil is lifted and they're seeing that it's they've been duped. Some people are seeing it now. And so I really feel like we're going to rise as a people. But as far as Sweden goes, there's going to be a falling away of some of that othering. I do find it interesting, just on a whole, a lot of the Scandinavian countries are not quite as diverse. If you look at them historically and genetically, they're pretty like me, right? White. I'm going to say this too. One person does not speak for the whole. So even here in the United States, statistically, like you think, oh, there's half the nation wanted Trump. Well, that's not true. Only like 22 or 23% voted for him, really, of the entire nation. There are a lot of disenfranchised people, but the truth is there's more love than hate. And if you can sort of grab onto that, even though there's this one really, really scary person, I just don't see it happening again. I don't see it. I just feel like there's going to be things put in place. More so, I say this because what is considered liberal in the United States is like still pretty conservative in other countries. Like, so I feel like there's enough fairly progressive and wanting to remain fairly progressive, that there's enough people in power and in play to maintain. Like, I just don't get that it's going to turn into this weird thing that we have here. Like, we have such a weird thing here with guns. Like, it's like, I get wanting to hunt, totally 1,000% go for it. I just think there needs to be some reasonable laws around access and, what type of, things you can own. And that's my own personal opinion. So you can take it or leave it. I mean, I have, it's not, I grew up, my father owned a few handguns and would go to a range and go shooting. And I've been with him. I don't like them. I don't see a need for them in my life. I get if people are hunters or whatever. I just also know that as much as somebody thinks they're prepared, they're most likely not unless they're doing like regular training under like sort of that pressured feeling. And I say that because I know as a nurse, I was trained regularly and we practiced it regularly to do codes. And I was always stunned when people, you see how people perform under pressure in codes. And some people literally just freeze and freak out or walk away, like abandon ship. And so I think even and luckily there's enough people like that kind of go in and so that doesn't become that much of an issue. But so then I like equate that to like if someone feels under pressure, if they feel they're being attacked, how clear are they to be able to make a needed decision? And I think you'll see that even in even if you were to talk to, I bet, military people and police officers and stuff, where they're like, yeah, like this is how I move in a situation. And then you see the one person who's just like, what the fuck are they doing? So I think it happens everywhere. But when you have people who then aren't regularly trained and go through the practice of it, and then they're like, but I'm going to have it to protect my family. I'm like, that might not happen. If like things don't always happen the way you think they will when you're under pressure. Like some people move really well under pressure and are very clear-headed and very clear thinkers. Like for me, and this may be like part of the neurodivergent thing, is like everything just slows down and I see so clearly when I have a huge burst of adrenaline. Like I just feel like the whole world is quiet and I move very easily through it. That doesn't happen for everybody. So, and I'm not saying like, oh, superhero, like it's just, like in those situations, it's just what happens for me. So, okay. Let's see. Regine, you said you wanted a general. And I want to say this too. Yes, people may notice that. But there's also people out there like me who I honestly, like, I often feel like I connect more with people who aren't from here. When I was like postpartum with my first daughter, my husband was like, go get in groups or whatever. I was like, I just don't like in the town I was living, I didn't relate to a lot of the like other, I related more to the nannies and stuff because I grew up poor. So I related more to people who, weren't making all of the money, didn't come from all of the money. I related to the people that were like the majority of people in the world, or in America at least. And I related to the people that like, I don't know. So, I mean, not everybody goes, oh, you're an immigrant. Some people see the value in people who think differently and came from different backgrounds and, experienced life differently just because I mean, I think there's such a richness and a value in it, in having, differences of perspective. So, I mean, I was like trying to explain to my daughter the other day, because I was just talking about how like I would say like I grew up poor. My husband would be like, "Oh yeah, we didn't have any money either," and I'm like, "No," and I'm laughing because like they're fine. um, and but like I said, but I wouldn't, like, because my kids are, they don't want for anything. And I'm like, but I wouldn't want that for them. Like, I'm happy that that's not what they're going through. Um, the world is going to change. I really believe that. And I've been saying that to you guys for a long time. 2026 feels better. 2028 feels even better. It's just this really rough patch we're in. And astrologically, people have said 2025 is going to be hard. You're going to hear people say, this is one thing that keeps coming up for me, where when I talk to my guides and I worry about, and I'm going to get to everybody's reading, so thank you for being patient and listening, where my guides have kind of been putting things into perspective to me. I tend to get really quiet. And part of that is just my own personality of like wanting to talk, but like, I feel like I can't talk. It's all very inner. And it's not that I'm worried about judgment or anything. It's just like, it's like my mouth is like, no, it's not today. And I think if I was for not having kids, could probably be quiet for a while. But so what they say is like, so when it's like, is this going to be like Germany and it's going to take over? It's like the things that they keep reminding me of are things like Germany was smaller. They didn't have the communications that they have now, where it's the rapid communication, the rapid knowledge. Like it was, you didn't find out everything right away, and you didn't have the access to your representatives. And I also keep being reminded that their constitution was different and that their military is different. Like their military was like, you obey orders no matter what, and our military is not like that. And I know Canada is worried right now about some sort of insurgents or whatever, and that we're going to try. It's just like everything in me is like, that's not going to happen. As much as he's like throwing a tantrum about it and saying those things, as much as he wants the resources, I don't see that happening. The other thing is like, there's something some people have been talking about astrologically like this. It was the same, and I can't remember the planets or whatever, but it was like, oh, this lineup was the same when these terrible things happened. But I saw another astrologer point out, but this other little planet that was also lined up in those times isn't there. It's not conjunct now. It's completely like, so she was kind of like, I don't really see that happening. But my own guides are kind of like, it's different now, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to stand up and fight. It doesn't mean that you don't have to make noise. It doesn't mean sit back because it'll be all okay. It is a need for everybody to stand up and speak out. And there's going to be a coming together. Does that mean everybody that was in MAGA is going to? No, there's still going to be holdouts that just don't want to believe it, or that benefit from, all of that. But more and more people were going to open up. And so I guess the way I look at it is like, you can be angry about it, but you can also welcome them in. Maybe you don't have to, but I'm just saying it's not bad to welcome people in and say, okay, like, yeah, maybe you were selfish and you couldn't see it until it affected you. But you know what? There's a lot of people who can't see things until it affects them. Does that mean that you don't try for change anyway? Or do you just like, that's just not the way it works. Change doesn't come when you're like, well, fuck you. Like, we're all sitting in the shit. We're all going to sit in it. We're all going to have to deal with the consequences of it. But if people come around and want to play ball, let them join your team. Because maybe they have a perspective that you didn't get, that they can help. Like, hey, this might be a better look at it. This might be a better way to approach it in order to win, because I know how that team plays. Just a thought. And you know what? There's just a lot of selfish people out there. There's just a lot of selfish, even a lot of people who voted Democrat were like, did it because of their own needs, not because of the way it would affect other people. Did it because it would affect them? Does that make them any, like, it's like, that's just how a lot of humans are. And I hate to say that, but that really is how a lot of humans are. And so offer grace where you can. Because if you made a mistake, you'd want somebody to offer you grace too, so that you can come up and do better. I don't know, that's the way I look at it. And, obviously if they're abusive, you don't have to come back. Like I had some clients be a little abusive after he won, and they will not be welcomed back in with such warmth. Just because it doesn't mean I'm going to, be cruel to them, but it does mean that I don't need them as a client. I don't know. So anyway, off that spiel, maybe somebody needed to hear that right now. Okay. Miss Regine, let's do it. Let me find your, hang on. I got to do this where it's a top chat. I need to do a live chat. And sorry, I've been like, my daughter got a new bed and we put it together, and I was like, oh my God, I need my reading glasses just to do this too. Old lady eyes. They're a little schmutzy. I have like another pair that I really like and I couldn't find them. They're blue. Oh, well. They're a little bit smaller of a frame, so it feels less like I can see your eyeballs. I like them. I just think I think they look better on other people, like this style. But I also sound like 20 or 30 bucks on them, so I'm not going to throw them out. Like they work. And I just also, maybe it's like, have y'all seen that stuff on, maybe if you're still on TikTok, where there's like the liberal women are trolling the Republican women about their makeup and stuff, which I'm always like, I didn't know that about makeup. But like, because the flex of Republican women is supposedly like, oh, we look better. And the liberal women are like, we don't care. Thank you. One thing I've never been accused of is being stylish. Yeah. Maybe one day. I honestly was like, the one thing I loved about nursing was wearing a uniform. Like I didn't have to think about clothes at all. Okay, hang on. I'm looking. Diddly do. Where are you, dear? Okay. I can't see. I saw you write a question before, Regina, and now I can't find it. Did you write it and delete it? I also have like this, my nose is a little like, I don't know. Whatever. Okay, there's also like a subscriber thing on YouTube. Okay, so here's why I can't do the subscriber thing here. I don't qualify for that because I don't have enough watch hours. So I have the number of subscribers, but I don't have the watch hours. So like I have to either pump up the volume that I'm doing here for content. And the other, yeah. So I kind of like, I don't have the watch hours to qualify to be able to like have subscribers. Where I know. So, and I don't have that barrier to entry over on Patreon. So I know it's another platform, but you know, a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do. And like, even on TikTok, I didn't have enough to like, there was a barrier to entry there. I don't know how many it was. So it's like, I don't know. It is what it is. Okay. Regine, what is your question? You have 2 questions and then. And then I have Nicole with 2 questions. I know, Regina, I can't find where you posted it. Like I was looking. Oh, what do your guides want you to know? That's your first one? I see it now. I don't know why I didn't see it before. I see it now. Okay, hold on. Okay, so what do your guides want you to know? Don't shoot the messenger on this one. This is not the full reading. So like, let me just say, literally the first thing I heard was, you need to clean out your ears. Not me, you. And I heard that because I feel like they're trying to reach into your clairaudience and connect with you, but that you're not. If you would just acknowledge a little bit of it, it will start flowing a little bit easier. I feel like it happens when you're like around water. So when you're in the shower or doing the dishes is really kind of where you're getting little blurbs of things. And so they're saying, clean out your ears, clean out your ears. Metaphorically speaking, your ears are clean. I know that you're not a dirty person. But metaphorically speaking, they're really wanting you to connect in that way. So they're saying you're at this stage right now that it's really important for you to do intentional breath work, and intentional connection. So they're like, yeah, you play with the tarot cards and it's fine, but like really kind of taking a leap of faith and just trusting that you are connecting with them, um, and seeing where it goes. If you start holding the belief around like, I am safe, I am protected, that like my guides don't let anything bad in, then like you're not gonna ever. Oh, here's the other thing. They're also saying like you're never going to be tricked. And so this idea that like and I know you have a Christian background. Oh, your ears just ringing. um, you're never going to be like this idea where people are like the devil's going to trick you into believing and da da da. It's like that. No. Um, I want to say, like, I think those darker energies or those heavier, or, when somebody considers, like, if people consider them, like, if you connect with, Hecate or Hecata, however you say it, Hecate, oh, I can't remember that anyway. Or if you connect with, some other energy, if you were doing a little bit darker, they're really quite lovely. Some of the characters that hang out with them, or energies that hang out with them, are mischievous, but for the most part, they're like fine. Um, they're pretty logical and matter of fact. Um, and I've always said this, and I will keep saying this: like even the darker, heavier stuff that feels a little scary or ominous, they're still really good about like respecting boundaries. Some of them you have to like, what the hell is going on here? Hang on. Let me just put this on my head and see. It just feels like maybe my head's crooked. Is my head crooked? Anyway, um, you're just not going to have like when it's like, oh my God, they're going to possess you and take over. I'm like, probably not. Like, I'm not saying that that's never happened, but I'm saying that like if you have any sort of sense of self, you're fine. And if you have any sort of like, yeah, this is my space, this is how I run my space, you have to abide by the rules. They literally have to. It's the simplest things. They're better than people. The people that are going to trick you are people. Energies can't. Spirits can't. Like it didn't work that way. So it's just, I feel like there's just this like little bit of a hanging on to that. So they're sort of saying like, just relax, you'll be fine. Like you'll never connect in with something that you can't handle. I'm trying to remember the name of the one that I connected with, and he was quite lovely, very large, very big energy. But some people might be scared because I don't know what they call them. A darker, I don't know. Wasn't scary at all. It was quite respectful. He came because he was like, do you want to work with me? And I was kind of like, I don't know, because my kids are so sensitive, and there was like some energies around him that were a little bit more chaotic. And I was like, I wouldn't mind, but I'm more worried about those energies connecting with my daughters and that creating a sense of like, because they're still so little. A giant, something like that. He's probably like 8 feet tall. I don't know. But still very respectful, and wasn't like, whoa, it was just like, oh, okay, cool. Like not, again, very respectful. And I didn't have to like, throw a tantrum over it. I was just like, yeah, I'm not really, I don't know. It's not nothing against him. Like, just like not sure that that's the right time. So it's sort of, they're just kind of talking about like learning to start leaning into it more, leaning into your abilities more, because they really want to have that connection with you. When we're doing our own intuitive work and we're connecting in, it's not about connecting to all of these like things or whatever. It is about like being able to like, when you're in like learning to center too, is like when you're in these moments of like the world is scary and around me, being able to hear your guides and be like, yeah, but here's the other thing. Here's the other side of it. Here's the other. It's like, maybe these things line up this way and people are really scared that this is going to happen because the potential's there. But also here's the mitigating factors that say like, but also these are the things that are working in your favor in this situation. And when you can find that grounding instead of like leaning into the fear and the anxiety of something, because that's why they want us to be afraid and scared, because it's really hard to hear your intuition. It's really hard to make logical decisions when you're constantly afraid and in fight or flight mode. So they're sort of just saying like lean in. I just kind of feel like leaning into the possibility of hearing and connecting. You can't. Okay, so what I would do is like when you're saying like I want to be more secure about what I'm seeing, I went through. I mean, this is sort of the same, but not really. So like you'll be able to flip it to that side of it when I explain it to you. So I was always very scared about doing readings because I didn't want to be wrong. Not because of my ego, like not wanting to be wrong, because like whatever, like people are wrong, people make mistakes. And I think we need to let a lot more room for people to make mistakes, especially ones that are not like life, altering kind of mistakes. And because growth comes from those. But I mean, growth comes from all of them, but like, you know what I mean? But I was afraid because I didn't want to let somebody down. If somebody was putting a lot of faith in me, on their guidance, and to give them a sense of calm and peace, etc. That's a very hard thing to like when you really do take what you do seriously and you want to do things with integrity. And I didn't want to constantly be saying like, I wanted to trust my guides. And so what I learned to say was, I trust my guides to give me the information. Now, I may not interpret it right, but I trust them that they're giving me the right information. The other side of that is I trust my guides to keep me safe. That's a very good affirmation to do when you're like connecting in. And I trust them not to overwhelm me, because the fact of the matter is they don't want to overwhelm you. They don't want to like scare the shit out of you so then you never connect with them again. Like that's not their goal. So if you can just maybe look at it like they wouldn't do that because that's cruel. Like, and that's not their goal to be cruel to you. So you started your channel? Yay! Let me know what it is. So if you want to put it in the chat and we can follow you, and then we can, support you. Listen, sometimes you're going to have to do things a little scared, right? Because what is it? It's the fear of being perceived, the fear of what if I just like, this isn't my thing and I kind of give up it? Then am I looking at like, listen, I'm constantly, you've seen me here for years now. I'm constantly changing my ideas about what I'm going to do. And I say like, oh, I'm going to do this. And then like, I don't follow through with it because it doesn't end up feeling and like, I don't feel intuitively pulled to it, or I don't feel like that's where I'm going to be in best alignment, or I'm scared. Right. And sometimes it's not even the fear of failure. Sometimes it's a fear of success. How is that going to shift my life? What changes? But you'll never know unless you try. And you never really fail unless you just give up on yourself. Like you're never really failing unless you give up on yourself. And that's the only failure you can really make. And let me just tell you also, the people that are going to be your biggest cheerleaders are not going to be people that you expected to be or wanted to be. And that's okay. But just keep that in mind. If you can lower the expectation of the people that you're really hoping will be your cheerleaders, it'll be better on your own psyche. But like my biggest cheerleaders are not the people that I hoped or wanted them to be. Like they are people that I would have never expected. And I'm so grateful for them. But like, again, the people that I wanted to like see value and all of that stuff in what I do, and to like really get excited for me and support me and be like, what are you doing next? Blah, blah, blah. Or like telling everybody about me, are not, in fact, not the closest in my circle. Well, I mean, those other people are now closer, but what I'm saying is they didn't come from my inner circle. They came from, where I least expected it. and that's okay, right? But remember, when you grow and you change, it also changes their, oh my God, what's going to happen, right? It affects them in some weird way. Okay. All right, Nicole, what are your questions? Wait, you have one more question. Do you want to ask it now or do you want to wait? The only thing I'm going to kick myself about TikTok is I had a friend. We are not in contact anymore, but we were friends. And she would always say, like at the beginning of TikTok, she's like, of COVID, she's like, you should get on TikTok. You should get on TikTok. I was like, no, I don't know. And I probably would have been a little further along than I am, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll still ask another question if you want. Okay. Can you please tell me what these changes at my job will bring for me? New CFO was mentioned in embezzlement lawsuit. Plus, they're replacing the property manager. Coworkers already is ready to leave. You're going to get an interim CFO. I think they're going to ask him to step down. I have a feeling there's like some kind of morality clause or something in his thing or in his contract. So you're going to get one pretty quickly here. There's something to change with the manager in the property manager in like 2 months. So I don't, can you give me the first name of the property manager and the first name of the coworker? But I feel like the property, it's funny because I can't even get, when I was talking with Allie, I was like, oh, I see your manager is this person and I see this other person. I'm not even getting an image. I'm literally getting like they're saying placeholder, but it's more of an energetic placeholder because I'm not seeing male or female. I'm not seeing a person at all. It's almost like this hole. So I feel like that person's not going to be there long at all. And I actually see them leaving on their own. But it's a weird energetic push out the door. So it's not even that. It's just that they're not aligned with anybody. George is the project. Okay. Okay. I'm going to hold your hand when I tell you about Barbara here. Barbara, I have had coworkers like Barbara. Barbara does not like change. Barbara does not deal well with change. Barbara does a lot of vocalization of that discomfort. Barbara does a lot of vocalization of discomfort and yet doesn't make changes. Barbara is, a little bit of a complainer. And that's how Barbara, so as much as she's like, I'm just going to leave, whatever, Barbara will be back on Monday. And Barbara will keep coming back on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Barbara's not going anywhere. I feel like Jorge will probably head out the door within 2 months. And I actually feel like that might happen, not because of the staff, but because of the people that deal with him in the properties complain so much about him. So this is one of those places of when it feels like everything is getting thrown up upside down and you get a little nervous. I want you, because I know you are very intuitive, Nicole, do the same things where you'd ground yourself in. What does that look like for grounding? I do meditation. Like I've been doing a lot of listening to different meditation tapes. And I've been doing a lot of just like finding quiet and calm and like kind of staying off of social media at that moment. And also doing what Mr. Rogers says, look for the helpers, right? When things are scary, but it just feels like it would be really good for you to get kind of quiet and be like, all right, logically, what do I feel is going to happen here? Not like, oh my God, the whole world just set on fire, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And it will be hectic for a little bit, but I feel like it's going to start calming down. I really do feel like this CFO person is going to end up stepping down. Do you have a board that oversees it? I just feel like someone's asking and being like, per your contract, it's really, we just like you to step down, given this information. You have investors. Yeah. I feel like it's the investors that ask him to step down. And I feel like it's going to be done very quietly. There's not going to be a big old stink about it. And there is merit to the case that's been brought against him. So who's here? Say hello. What is your other question? My second question is, will I track a group of friends soon, like genuine close friends? Okay. The people that, yes, you will, but I want to say it like, kind of look at it like, it's not that they're bad people, but those people were in alignment with you during a time where that was important. Everything that's happened with your father has really shifted you energetically. And a lot of people that you knew from before don't know how to relate to that. And this is like same I was talking about before. When people don't have, most people don't have an experience or perception from one place, it's very hard for them to connect and be empathetic and be like, oh yeah, like I don't know what you're going through, but certainly like this kind of a thing. So you have this whole shift of perspective. March keeps coming up for me and June keeps coming up for me. I don't feel like you're going to have a very large group. I feel like maybe 2 or 3 people, but very tight and close. It feels more like having gone through similar experiences. And I don't necessarily feel like they're going to be, one of them for sure is going to be older than you. What you might feel like is like, why would I hang out with somebody who's that much older? But I just feel like you'll connect. Like she has more life experiences that are similar to yours. And so you just get along. But it's also, again, just like dating, putting yourself out there to meet the people. And it's not going to be necessarily in places where you think. Maybe it's in like spiritual support groups. Maybe it's in clog dancing. Not that I think you're doing clog dancing, but I'm just saying like finding like an activity where you're just like, I just want to go do this. I don't really care if I have any friends. And then like meeting people through that. But having to put yourself out there is really important. Sorry if my touching my hair bothers you guys. Maybe it's a stem. Who fucking knows? Yeah, that's kind of what I feel. And again, it feels like 2 to 3 people. It doesn't feel like a big group. I sort of understand that, but I think a lot of that even comes down to what Hollywood and like the whole idea of like, oh, there's a group of friends and they were like couples and they were a group of them. And so you think like, oh yeah, I want that too. And maybe you see other people have it, but it just doesn't feel like it's it just doesn't feel like it fits with you. Hi, Misty. I had somebody say something like I was doing a reading or I was receiving the reading and she said something about touching my hair. And I sort of wonder if maybe she wasn't watching this and being like, oh, she touches her. And I was doing some videos on TikTok and somebody was like, you have some of the same stems I do. And I was like, oh, touching my hair? Yeah. Hi, Brian. How are you? Is clog dancing in your future? No. I understand that like being closer to one person at a time. I think it's I know you're neurodivergent. So it's like I think it's natural to be that way. I almost feel like when it's too many people, it's just like too much for me to balance. Like I got enough stuff on my plate already. I can't like because when I'm like friends with you, I want to like be friends with you. I'm pretty okay today. Oh my gosh. Hang on. I have to send my daughter a message because I want to make sure she's doing her homework. Because otherwise we end up at like 9:30 at night. She's just got a little bit to do. I want to make sure she did it. Okay. Sorry. All right. All right. So, Regine, your other question was, how's the year looking for you? You jumped off your laundromat last night. I was so happy waking up. I love that. So I want you to hold that and know that then this is a sign that it's possible. Just like I've been saying that it's like there. It's definitely coming soon. So again, June is really sticking out for me around that. And I know it's like February and you're like, oh, but that's not that far away. So I don't know. And here's what I say. I don't know if you're signing the paperwork in June or if you like, that's when you start looking and that's when you find the one. Like, I remember with my mom and we looked at a whole bunch of townhouses when she was looking at places down or condos, whatever you call them in Houston. And I remember getting out of the car in the parking lot of the one she ended up buying. I was like, she's buying this one. Didn't even look at it, didn't step in it or anything. We were several hundred feet away from the unit she actually ended up. And I was like, this is it. This is the one. I just knew it. And I just feel like that's going to be the same thing. Hi, Linda. No, the list isn't closed. I just knew like that was going to be it. And I feel like now when I have dreams of things happen, like it's going to happen. So like years ago, I've been telling you guys this and who've been here with me. I saw Trump with his arms behind his back being arrested. And I'm like, of course, I've been like, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I'm like, no, I know I saw that. I know it wasn't metaphorical. It's going to happen. And I just need to let go of wondering when it's going to happen. And so if you can just like kind of dig into like, it's going to happen for your thing. So, but June is coming up for me on that, around that. I really feel like this year you're going to be focusing on, it's going to be more about, like you within you, supporting you, putting you first, and not in a bad way. Like I think we have this idea of being selfish is like bad, but it just feels like focusing on you. Because at the end of the day, those people outside of you who are just wanting more and more of you to be centered around them and like then calling you things like selfish or whatever, they're not worried about your happiness. And when you die, you're not going to think, boy, I wish I would have given even more to myself to other people and not cared about myself at all. I mean, maybe, but those are usually people who are people who are like, wish they would have given more, tend to be so super self-centered. And there's a balance there, right? But when you're constantly giving to other people, there isn't, you're out of balance. So I keep getting around June. I feel like even by August, you might start looking for a second one. Doesn't mean you're going to get one this year, but it feels like you might start looking at the idea of getting a second one. I have this little heater on because it's cold down here, but it dries out my lips so much. Hi, Joelle. It's good to see you. You can still pay for a question. See how your intuition works, where you're just like, I need to do this. I need to tell her now. And she was like, I haven't done it yet. Her homework. I'm telling you. Listen to those little blurbs. Okay. Doodly do. Okay, Linda, I've got you, and CB, I've got you. You're very welcome for the second one. I'm excited for you. I can't wait till it happens and I can be like, told you. I'm not much of a told you so person. I've had so many people who are like, this one I think is funny. So my father-in-law at one point was like, what kind of car would you tell me to get? Blah, blah, blah. And he said, he was talking about like just Honda or Hyundai. And I was like, Honda, 100% a Honda. And more so because I just said, like, I've always had them. The one time I didn't have one, I was like, and my family has always kind of had them. They're just really reliable cars. And then he was like, oh, well, my mechanic said to get a Honda. I said, well, why the fuck did you ask me? Like, I mean, what's the point? If you're like, go with that then. And he got it. And he was like, I should have listened to you. And I was like, just smiled. I was like, okay. I didn't say I told you so, but boy, was I happy. I just thought it was funny. So I won't tell people, but I like when good things happen. I'm like, see? I am grateful for you, Regine. I really appreciate your energy, by the way. Okay, wait. So I've got let's get to the next questions and then we can do some generals if anybody wants. Linda, Cindy, and Joelle. So Linda, if you want to go. Oh, sorry, CB. I'm sorry if I say your full names out. I really do apologize. I'm not doing it on purpose. But as we all know, not too many people watch this. I don't even have the watch hours to do a subscription or make any money off of this other than the money you guys give me. So you're probably pretty anonymous still anyway. So, yeah. I keep thinking about like with like the Elon stuff, like there's been some really interesting comparisons to him and Steve Bannon and how like everybody thought Steve Bannon was like, you know, the manipulator or whatever, but like something happened. He got put on Time Magazine and then I guess Trump got pissed off and shortly thereafter Steve Bannon was out. And that's the one thing like with Elon is like, I don't feel like he's going to last too long, mostly because Trump doesn't keep too many people around him long term. I genuinely feel like the only people he's kept around him long term are his kids and Melania. I think most of the people are just a revolving door, if you notice it. I even think the 2025 people he's going to end up getting pissed off with them too. Okay, I work for a federal government. Am I going to be able to keep working at my job? I want to stay for 5 years if possible. I do feel like you will. I do feel like there's going to be a shift or a change in it in 3 years, but I feel like you will be able to. And I know that sounds nutty considering, but I feel like you will be able to. It's interesting because I almost feel like whatever you do, it's like they can't see below here and your job is below here. So they can't see it. Like, so when they're coming in and trying to make all these crazy like changes, which by the way, they're not going to stick. The things that they're doing are not going to stick. Trump is already having a lot of hard time with getting his orders to be upheld. Even judges that he hired, like that he appointed, are like, no, brother. I feel like unexpectedly, there's going to be a lot of people who you'd be like, oh no, they're totally going to go Trump way. I just feel like unexpectedly, they're going to be like, no, this is the Constitution and this is our democracy. But I feel like, Linda, whatever your job is, like the eyes are all up here looking at all of these jobs and yours kind of falls underneath here. So it's like you're under the radar for them. but there is going to be a shift in it in 3 years. So I don't know if that means like maybe they shift the name of the department that you're in or the name of the title. It's like still the same job, but they change something like that. But there's going to be a slight shift in like 3 years. And really what's interesting is I think the people that are going to be really we're going to see as like the heroes in all of this stuff aren't going to be, they're going to be the people like you who are just like, no. Like, what is it? The environmental one group that's like now gone rogue, and they have like 100,000 employees, and they're giving all of this really great information out. I follow them. I just can't think of their name off topic. Yeah, I just feel like even after 2025, I feel like, okay, it might feel like there's a lot of stuff that's more broken, but it's not irreparable. That's not a word. It's repairable. And yes, the Alt National Park Service. Yes. So it's going to come from places that like we don't fully expect it. And I just heard he's going to be his own undoing. And so it may be the unexpected people are the people that were gung-ho super Trumpers, and they're just like, I don't know. I still don't. They want to merge you. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe it just takes a little while for you to merge. You work on the consumer price index. I don't even know what that means. The computer system they are accessing and but the computer they are accessing and a major data breach. Hi, KK. I'm confused. You want to merge you. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. Like there's just a feeling of like, they're not going to be able to do that. I'm telling you, I don't feel like it's long before Trump gets really fed up with Elon. He doesn't, as much as I get worried about people calling Elon President Elon and things like that, because we don't want to normalize this. I actually think it pisses Trump off enough to where he'll be like, I'm the president. That's me. He's not going to be able to do as much stuff as he thinks he is. And as much as he's threatening things he can't do. But it is important to call your representatives. I understand that people who resist are getting fired, but there's going to be lawsuits because of it. So when I looked at Elon's energy, which I don't like to do a lot of that because I'm like, but I just looked at it with curiosity, not with like intent to try and do anything about it, because you can do energy work. I've done things, remove things for people. And I think I did it because I saw something about people having egregores. And those are like thought forms that turn into like big energy things. And for him, I think actually, if you guys have watched long enough with Devery, all that stuff that was going on with her, I think that might have been what that was egregores. But he has this like dark dragon looking thing that swarms around him, or that kind of engulfs him. Doesn't mean he's not crazy. And no, I don't think that this energy is making him do these things. Like, so it's not like a possession thing. It's more just that's the energy he gives off. So it's the thing he connects with, and it sort of feeds off the situation. I know he does. I know that that's what happened. And I know it's scary. I still don't think that he can, like, yes, he has it. And I think there'll be a solution to do things differently because of something like this in the future. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't make changes until they see, oh shit, there's a problem. Like, putting warning labels on stuff. Those come not because somebody had the forethought to put a warning label on it. They came because something terrible happened. Like all those little water beads they use them in, now they use them in, they use them in floral design, but somebody decided like, well, let's make these into kids' toys. And then like these kids were like dying from swallowing these, and animals were dying from swallowing these, and their gut would like blow up huge because they would swallow the teeny tiny one and then it expanded to a massive size. Those didn't get pulled off until the terrible stuff happened. Nobody had the forethought. So it's like, unfortunately, nobody had the real forethought to see clearly. They were just like, yeah, sounds good to me, tech brother, whatever, alpha bro. So it's like, it's 2025 is going to be bumpy, but I genuinely don't believe we're going to lose democracy. Now, does it mean I'm not doing things to prepare for it just in case? Yeah, I prepare for hurricanes. So, got to make sure, your passports and stuff, like we have to get my kids' passports and get mine renewed and all of that stuff, and make sure all of that's in order. Not because I think, oh my God, I'm going to have to leave the country, but I'm thinking like, I wear a seatbelt in the car. Why would I not be like, have that in line? And I think that that's important to do that. So I want to actually try and do a little gardening and have a little vegetable garden, maybe have some strawberries and raspberries and blueberries and stuff for fruit. And not because, oh my God, I'm not going to ever have fruit again, and I'm not going to have any vegetables and the supply is going to be terrible and blah, 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 but because why not? Right? Why not be prepared just in case? And I think it's okay to do that. And this is not to like fearmonger anybody. I just think it's important to like, it's not because I genuinely don't like everything I've gotten. I don't feel like our country is going to fall. Is it scary what everybody's talking about? Yeah, it is for sure. But I also feel like this is going to cause like the mass awakening is that idea of like, oh, like we are all interconnected. And I understand that. I know it's not. Do not think that I'm dismissing what you're saying, but I'm also not going to feed into it, because I think that staying in a place of fear and focusing on that does not help anybody. It does not help you fight or see straight to do what you're going to do. So it's okay to acknowledge that. It's just like when someone gets diagnosed with a disease. It's okay to acknowledge that it's there. It's okay to say it is scary. And now let's get to work. So, and now this is the time. And unfortunately, most, like even in medicine, they did not find solutions to things until they saw there was a massive problem or the shit hit the fan. Like the reason why they do counts on everything when you go into a surgery is because they have sewn things into people before, whether it's sponges or scissors or clamps. Like that is why that's why they also stop and count in the middle of it. That's why they stop and check to make sure that they're working on the right limb or the right side of the body for organs, because they had sentinel events that was like, oh shit, we have to. So this is a sentinel event. And so it's not like things are going to be put in place from here on out that this doesn't happen. I actually feel like Social Security numbers will go away in many circumstances, and they'll start using some different system. So, yeah. It will be okay. Does it mean that it's going to be perfect and that there's not going to be any stretch or growing pains through this or scary moments? No. Because I literally remember the day that Biden was inaugurated, I just felt like, holy shit, I can relax a little bit, because it literally felt like just awful. I mean, I know that I have Trumpers here, and listen, I'm telling you, financially, we did great, but also like, I know that most people don't. And I do live in the, like, we're all interconnected and it's important. Like I'm probably what you would call a socialist. I believe in social systems to help raise up others. I do not believe in unfettered capitalism. I think it is quite dangerous. I believe that we can have a better public school system. I believe that we have enough money to make college affordable, if not free, for everyone. I said that. They did it in the 70s. It was all very reasonably priced. That's not an inflation thing. That was done out of greed and unfettered capitalism. Okay. Who else do I have here? Cindy, you have one, and then Joelle. Again, it's not to be like dismissive of the fear, because I get the fear that's there, because I feel that too. I feel very overwhelmed when I see stuff. It's very scary. It's very unsettling. And yet my guides keep saying, like, especially when you hear the stuff like Germany fell in like 58 days or something like that, it's like they always kind of go, okay, yes, and here's the deal. Look at what's different. It doesn't mean ignore what's going on, but it does mean here's the differences. And here's why it's not going to be as easy as they think. My friend says that he doesn't bother with president because regardless, he's still poor no matter. Right. Here's the other thing that I kind of got this morning that I thought was interesting is like, it was sort of a diss that like Mitch McConnell was actually much more powerful than any presidents. And that presidents are really sort of just a figurehead. It doesn't mean they don't have any power, but it is the false nature that we give, right? And unfortunately, Mitch McConnell is not a great person. But like, lots more power go to Congress. Invested in joining an organization that we talk about many times. Okay, I'm wondering if my entry into the organization will create opportunities to meet quality men today. Yes, I got immediately yes. Immediately yes, because I also feel like there's a connection with other like opposite chapters, if that makes sense. I don't want to say like what this is, like allude to what it is. The opposite type of organizations. But yes. You're welcome. And I want to be clear. It's not that I sit there and look at the Democrats and be like, they're perfect. They're not. There's so many things where I'm like, this shit has got to change. There's been a lot of people asleep at the wheel, and not putting the people first. A lot of feeling of like taxation without representation, sort of sometimes, but you sort of look at it as like, I don't even want to say the lesser of two evils. I just want to say, but what is a little bit better is sort of the feeling I want to say. So yes, CB, I do feel like, okay, and I would love to get my doctorate for free. So I hope PostGrad becomes free. If it's not free, it's like very affordable. It's like, but again, that's time and all of that. So male versions. Yeah. I didn't know if you want me to say like female male. So I was trying to be like the opposite. Do I still have, oh, I do. Look at that. I didn't even notice that was on there. Doot. Okay, and last but not least, doodly-doo, Jolene, or Jolene? Joelle. I want to know what my guides are saying in regards to job opportunities, career this year. So I get that it's actually really better for you to stay where you're at this year, and more so because I feel like, so it's this idea of like hunkering down, but I don't think that that's like, right. It's just that idea of like sheltering in place, staying where you're at. And it's just a feeling of, while it's important for you to grow and you will have growth change, I don't know if it just feels like it's important for you on a emotional mental level to kind of stay where you're at and do status quo, even does it's like not really challenging you anymore or doesn't really feel that exciting anymore. There's something about 2026, but I feel like there's actually going to be more growth and feeling much better within 4 years, like feeling like better challenged or more excited about work in the same city, but move to another location. I don't even feel like a move to another location. Is there a way to move temporarily, like where you're occasionally going to this other location and then like where you might be like 2 days a week here, 3 days a week here? Because that I could see, but I don't see a full move. I could be wrong. We know that, right? It's okay for me to say that. And CB, I totally get feeling like a fish out of water in places like when you go alone. I 1000% get that. But I don't know. You're only new once, and then you're just, been there, done that. And I feel like if you do that, it's more out of your request than theirs, like where you're kind of like, hey, I noticed this is open or this is a possibility. Would you consider me for it, rather than somebody coming to you? So maybe keep an eye on like job opportunities within the company that you're in. You're very welcome. Does anybody have any general questions they want to do, or any concerns, or I don't know, looking for guidance? Oh, wait, Kashi, are you still here? Is that your name? No, Cushy. Are you still here? I didn't mean to forget about you. You might not be. I know you're a college student, so you probably got tired of me. More lipstick, y'all. Clearly does not last as much as I'd like it to. And I don't want to stain, because then I'd still be putting on. Okay. Anybody? Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, curiosities? I think the Chiefs are going to win, by the way. Maybe not. Okay, this is where I started to say that, and then I heard the Eagles have it in the bag, so I don't know what this means. Okay, I don't know. Don't go with me. I am going to do some laundry and maybe watch something on my iPad in my room, because I really don't care about the Super Bowl. All right. I guess nobody has any other questions. Are we done for the evening? I miss Devery. She hasn't been on here in a long time. She was good at these questions at the end. Oh, I wanted to say one more thing about the Elon Energy thing. So you know those kids that are like all his little minions doing his bidding? So like when I first saw them, I saw them all with like a little rope around them, and then connected in. I saw them being engulfed by his energy, and he just felt like such a black hole. I do think things are interesting. Here's, I think, is one of the kids, because they found out that he was just a total piece of garbage. Surprise, surprise. What's your question about Ketanji Brown? I want to learn more about egregores, so I'm going to do some more research on that. You can create egregores. They don't have to be a negative thing. You can create them to be helpful to you, apparently. So I want to learn more about that. But one of the kids, his dad is like the CEO and president of Lesser Evil Popcorn. What I find telling is, not interesting, but telling, is that like they haven't come out and denounced his actions at all, or said like, we wouldn't raise our son to be this way. I don't understand why he's doing this. Like, they've been silent, which I'm like, you just told on yourself. We know who you are now. Like, we know where your thought process is. And when I say that, like voting with your dollar is really important, it's not like, first of all, it's really important that you call your representatives, especially if you live in a red state. I want to say it was something like 4-1, like they're the regularly, not right now, but regularly, they receive more calls, like almost 4 times the amount of calls from Republicans than they do Democrats. So the reason why their representatives are out there fighting more for it or being more whatever, because they're hearing from those people. When you talk about one subject, you can call up to 3 times a day with 3 different subjects, and call them every day. And if you're like, I'm going to bother them, it's annoying, they rotate out like whoever's on calls for every 6 weeks. So you're only going to annoy them for 6 weeks, and then you're going to move on to somebody else. Don't send emails, because they don't listen. They will not listen to call, and they put it in a whole call log. I'm telling you, I've been doing the research on this, and I'm not a fan. Like, I get nervous. So there's this great app. There's an app, and there's also somebody that does like gives you great scripts to follow. But there's this app called 5Calls, and let me show you what it looks like, because I downloaded it. It looks like the little 5 stars there, 5Calls. And when you open it up, you'll put in your location or whatever. So then it gives you your representatives. And it tells you what they voted, how they voted. So you can call and like be annoyed with them, and it'll give you a script, or you can go off script a little bit, so you kind of know what to say. You either want to leave a message or speak with somebody if you can. Don't emails, they tend to ignore them, but the calls they log, and then they'll say like, okay, and then it gets like put into this whole thing, and then they go, these are the things that people are talking about, like, so you kind of get categorized. So that's how your voice gets heard more. Hang on. And it's 6 calls a day. You call your reps nearly every day, 6 calls a day after yep. So here's the other thing, is that you also want to vote with your dollar. So like, look at what happened with Target. People found out that Target removed DEI, and so they stopped shopping there, stopped shopping at Walmart, stopped shopping at Sam's, especially people of color. And they started shopping at Costco, because Costco is like standing up for DEI. And yeah, they've lost like 16 billion now or something like that. And then they came back within days, because then they got a lawsuit from their investors, and they were like, so point being, it matters. Like, this is the day and age where it's going to start mattering where you spend your money, who you're giving your money to. Also, shop local and shop small if you can. I sort of made this thing where I can't get off Facebook altogether, just because I have kids, and there's, like parents groups and stuff that I like for the schools, but I'm not giving as much of my energy to any of those platforms anymore. So you notice I haven't posted anything for a long time on there. I've been a little bit lackadaisical about posting, but that's very intentional. I haven't removed my profiles yet completely, but I'm not giving them access, whatever. So I thought it was funny. I went to I went to Costco. So Costco World Market is really good too, if you can get there. And like, same thing, like if you can go to your local farmers for your produce and stuff. And I went to an Asian market to shop, because those are, typically small business run, not big corporations. Put your money. That's where they listen. That's what they listen to. Money. That's it. That's what they listen to. Money, and then a phone call. Hobby Lobby, Okay, so Hobby Lobby is, remember I did a prediction a while ago about Walmart and Hobby Lobby, which I find is interesting that Walmart's getting targeted. I don't think Joann Fabrics is going to close. Hobby Lobby, I don't know yet. They have enough of a base still, so I don't see them fully closing. But there's also local fabric stores. If you're just Joann's Fabric kind of sucks anyway. So not sorry. It's not like great quality if you want to sew actual things. Oh, Justice Ketanji Brown forever. That woman is not leaving until the day she dies. Like she will be there holding up. I mean, she might she's going to be there for a long time. She's not moving. I know it didn't do anything for that. I do feel like keep calling. This is different. I don't want to say this is different, but this is like you have to keep calling for this stuff. So I know it feels like it didn't do anything for that. Even if you can call and ask them to stop accepting money from AIPAC, take the money out of it. I know New Jersey is coming up with the governor's races this year. And I'm really doing my due diligence because I'm not going to just trust that it's going to go blue. I'm going to do my due diligence about looking at where the money, because like Mickey Sherrill is running and I don't. She took money from Elon, and there was one other person who took money from Elon. So yeah, so we need to go out there and get involved at a local level, Anyway, I went to Costco and I was like, yeah, it's been crazy here. Cause I was like, my husband had shown me he had gone the weekend before and he was like, oh my God, it was so crazy. He's like, I had to park out by this restaurant, which is far. And he's like, I've never seen it so busy. I was like, oh, I know why. And I was like, it's TikTok. Everybody's basically leaving Target and Walmart and Sam's and they're going to Costco. And I mentioned something to one of the ladies in the store because I went this week to look for something because he was like, I can't even stand in line for this. I'm leaving. And I knew it would be quieter during the week. And the women were like, oh my God, they said something about the eggs because of the bird flu. And I was like, they said that they had to limit the big flats of eggs to 2 flats per person. And I'm like, oh. Even if I just think it's funny because I'm like, I don't understand how anybody eats that many eggs, even if you can freeze them. Holy, how many eggs do you need? The eggs are sky high. That has nothing political to do. That's genuinely just the bird flu. They're not sky. They have nothing. That's as much as people want to blame somebody for that, that is just an unfortunate pandemic for birds going around. And so be careful with your cats and your dogs and all of that stuff. By the way, if you have dogs and you walk them, there is a cleaner that you need to clean their feet with that actually kills the virus. I was gonna order it from Chewy. Let me see if I can find it. What it's called. The brand is Clean Republic. It's a multi-purpose disinfectant spray, and it's got some kind of acid in it. I can't think of the name of it. But you can clean their paws with it. It's a safe disinfectant. It's safe for humans. It's safe for animals. It's safe for your countertops and stuff. It's it's not hyperchloric acid. That's not right, but it's something. But it's a disinfectant and it's safe for your animals, but it will kill the flu. So you can spray it on their paws and clean them before you bring it in. They have a gallon jug, but it's out of stock. I just saw. So, you can buy a bottle of it. The gallon jug is $16 and the bottle of it is 10. So it makes more sense to buy the gallon and just use your own spray bottle. But what do I know? Okay. Anybody have any other questions? I'm not saying I vacillate a lot between being panicked and like getting real calm about it and feeling like I had a morning this week where I was like, this is all going to be okay. Like I really felt like this is all going to be okay. It's all going to balance out. And I'm not one of these spiritual people that's like, everybody just needs to see so we can have an ascension. Like, but I am kind of like, unfortunately, shit sort of has to hit the fan in order for changes to be made sometimes. Trump says he'll announce yet. Oh, another tariff on Monday. I'm not getting a sense of what it is, but I'm also getting a sense of like it's going to backfire on him. It's not going to work. Um, when I you know that Mel Brooks movie? I don't know which one it is, but he's like, it's good to be the king. And that's like, I got this image of him being like that. Like, where it's like he's signing all this stuff, but it really has no power or effect. It's just throwing everybody into a tizzy. What you want to look at is start calling your representatives too about some of the bills they're introducing, especially if you're in a red state, about some of the bills they're introducing around birth control and things like that. Yeah, I do feel like the ICE one will die down. I actually feel like the other thing that they said, which I thought was interesting, was that they aren't able to hold a lot of the people they're taking because they don't have the setup for it. And even if they're preparing for stuff, it's all going to end up blowing up in their face. Like it's not going to work out. And I actually see a lot of people's like looking at this going, I'm not, this is insane. I'm not doing this more. Like, you know, like people in the military, like they're supposed to tell their captains and their seniors, like if they're doing something and it's illegal, or are allowed to refuse to do something because they're like, this is unethical, this is against American people. And I actually saw, when you asked, I saw like people stepping down and walking away from it and being like, this is so ridiculous what we're doing. I see a lot of that happening. It just feels like it falls apart. It falls apart. It falls apart. I think they're serious about doing it. I don't think it's going to pan out. So I think they're serious about building there. Here's the thing. I think they're serious about wanting to do a lot of these things, but I also think, but it doesn't really pan out. Like they're just not, as much as everybody wants to say they're smart, they're just not that smart. Gaza's not going to, it's not going to pan out the way they want. We're not invading there. They're not building hotels and things on there. Do what they want to? Sure. It won't pan out. Evil is right. So when people are like, oh, is there when people have asked me like, could there be a dark force or energy overtaking them? No, some people are just fucking gross and evil and awful. And I mean, that's just who they are. They're just sociopaths and psychopaths. Hi, Julia. Happy birthday. Tell Anna happy birthday. So I saw these, I don't know if, well, some of you aren't on TikTok, but these bulls came across my page, Rufus and Redford. And I've seen lots of cows and things like that. And I know cows can be mean, but so this guy was like standing in one of his bulls. Redford was like kind of, you know, if he didn't have a tree, but if he didn't have a tree, this would have like mowed him over and totally tried to throw him in the air and stuff. And so he calls for his other bull, Rufus. It's like, Rufus, and you hear him. And honest to God, it scared me so much. I was like, that is the scariest sound ever. I will take a scary energy, but that sound is horrifying. I had no idea bulls sounded so horrifically scary. And, but my point is like, their energy sort of reminds me of like Trump and Elon where it's just this idea of like, I'm mad and I'm angry and I don't know why, and I'm just going to take it out on anybody around me. That's just the energy I get around them. It's very like dysregulated and not able to honor that, like not able to access their emotions other than just anger, and definitely not able to see that like this person over there. And it's funny because he like Rufus will take a cookie and a treat and be like, okay, I'm calm now. And I feel like Trump kind of will take the cookie. And I don't feel like Elon takes the cookie. And Elon's kind of like Redford. Redford doesn't want to take the cookie. He just wants to be angry and I want it my way. It's very interesting. Does anybody have any other general questions? Or I guess, like I said, Kush left, but anybody? Are we good? It's like 6:00. All right, lovies. Hang in there. Like I said, in a week or two, I'm going to have my Patreon up. There's going to be a $5 tier, a $12 tier, and a $25 tier. Maybe I'll do 13 because that's a powerful feminine number. And like the $5 will be like, there's going to be a lot for what you're paying for. So I'm going to say that like my goal is to do like give you a lot of good content. Obviously the less you pay, the less access. But the other thing I am going to do is that everybody will have access to is we'll do something like this, like maybe once a week where we do like the general energy type readings. And maybe I'll like do more in-depth political stuff, kind of looking at it. I'll maybe use some oracle cards or something for that. So then I don't feel so like icky reading into everybody's energy, and I'll feel a little bit more comfortable just being like totally open and honest. So I wanted to make it really, really affordable and easy for people to access it, because the goal is just to create a community for a safe place for people to go where I can really feel like when I do stuff here and do it for free, I don't have as much drive. Sorry, not to say like, but like sometimes it's exhausting doing the stuff and like to see people watch it, but I'd rather just provide for people who are interested and like have an exchange for it, if that's okay, if you understand that. Because nobody wants to work for free all the time, right? And then so with the $25, like if you're doing the 25 a month, like I said, I'll also offer where you'll get like a discount if you want to do like every quarter, you'll get a discount if you wanted to do a private reading, which I've never offered discounts before. So, and I'll also offer, this part will be a little bit extra, but where we'll do, that's my other problem with Substack. Lowest tier is $5 a month, $50 a year. Yeah, so I'll do like $5 a month. I mean, you can pay it monthly or yearly, whatever. I don't know exactly how that works. And then plus like 5, 13, and 25. There's different tiers. The only reason I didn't want to do Substack, I looked at it, is because there was a lot of stuff like it was kind of built on, there was some alt-right type stuff, and they didn't really ever censor it, I heard. And so I just kind of felt like maybe that's not where I want to put my money. So yeah, this is what I'm choosing. This is the way I'm going. Anyways, all right. So I'm going to say good night. I hope you all have a fabulous week. And like I said, through that too, we'll do meditations, and just be patient with me about like filming and things. It might be a little wonky or not look the greatest at first, because I just getting my feet wet and doing all of that and putting it up. But I just want to get it going so that way we've got a space too. Okay. Right. And I don't, right. Yes. So I don't want to also like have to worry about, as I don't think Patreon would go anywhere because it's all private stuff. And I feel like with like TikTok and other social media platforms, even this might get into more, I don't know, whatever. And I can't do a subscriber program here because again, I don't have enough hour viewers. You know what I mean? Okay. All right. So thank you for following me wherever I decide to end up. And I will see y'all later. Have a good week. Okay. And happiest birthday again to your daughter. Is it Lana or Lana? Happiest birthday. Okay.